Hey, Mike.
Hey, Tim.
So, the topic of this clip is entitled The Negotiation Within the Sales Process. A lot of our work is with salespeople. And so, what we find it's very important to do is to differentiate between selling on one side and negotiating on the other side. A lot of cultures will use a lot of different languages seem to have a kind of discrepancy between the words. When you say to them selling or negotiating, they actually understand the same thing. Yeah. And so what we want to do is to differentiate between those, and we can do that very nicely with the context of the sales process.
Is that because in many cultures, a sale almost always has a negotiation attached to it, where the price isn't necessarily as fixed as maybe in our culture?
Yes. And so they will say, for example, we all negotiate. Every sale is a negotiate. When can we begin negotiating? And from our perspective, when you dig into that a little bit, they're actually still very firmly in the sales stage. Yeah. And so differentiating between those two can be quite, well, interesting.
Cool.
So I'm just sharing the screen here. Uh, what you can see here is a triangle on its side. It's called the sales funnel. And this is the picture that we use for describing a sales process. And we don't need to understand many things about this apart from the following. Step 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is all selling. And step number 5 and step number 6, actually step 5 is not negotiating either yet. Step number 6, the closing stage, is the actual negotiation skills stage within the sales process. So if we imagine you're selling a large project, you're selling something worth 500,000 or 1 million or 10 million, then step 1 is going to be understanding the customer's business. Step 2 is going to be doing presentations and demonstrating your worth and your value and creating curiosity. Step 3 is going to be digging into the customer's pains and problems and situation. Step 4 is going to be making a first proposal and then getting feedback to that first proposal. Step 5 is getting agreement to that first proposal and then working on it and working on it and making it better and better and better until that proposal really looks right. Step number 6 is where the proposal has been agreed. So there are no more changes going to go into the actual proposal itself, or there shouldn't be. And the framework is agreed. The project plan is agreed. You've all also had discussions about pricing and numbers, and that's all essentially been agreed to as well. And now you're kind of moving into the stage where you're saying, right, well, why don't we sign and move on? And that closing stage is devoted then to the final discussions and the negotiation, where the customer is saying, yeah, we want to move, but we still have a few things that we want to discuss. Yeah. So the stereotypical block at this stage will be the price and then the pricing negotiation at this stage.
So it sounds like having these negotiation skills is really valuable because you're so near to the end, you're so near to that final goal, and yet without the right set of skills, you could potentially lose the whole project if you can't come to that very final agreement.
And in a couple of our customers, large IT companies, they actually had specific departments or specific people who were responsible for the negotiation stage, who were not the salespeople. Can you imagine why that was? So they didn't want to trust the salespeople to do step 6, let's put it like that.
Tell us why, Tim.
Because their relationships were too good. They didn't. They acknowledged the fact that the salespeople were great salespeople, and because they were great salespeople, they lived in the pockets of their customers. They almost liked their customers more than they liked their own companies. And so it was very, very difficult for them to remain rational, focused, and not give stuff away in this negotiation stage. So I've heard of this example, a couple of times where they actually have a group of people who come over to take over the negotiation stage. And they'll say like, oh, hi guys, sorry, Mike's not here. He's broken his leg. I'm here to run this stage. Yeah. And so humor aside, giving the importance to the negotiation stage that it deserves and distancing that stage from the relationship person who came before.
Really interesting. Tim, is there an area where this model, I mean, or what we've been speaking about in this video applies to somebody who is not a salesperson?
Yes, in the context that identifying when it finally comes to the negotiation stage and when you're still in the influencing stage. Yeah. We work with a lot of people who are internal business partners or internal consultants, and they don't like to call themselves salespeople, but they are. Yeah. They're in the business of influencing people and getting people to take on their products and services. So this could be, an HR business partner, a financial business partner, an R&D business partner, an IT business partner. And, they all want their internal customers to choose their ideas and to move with them on projects. And so they are salespeople. And so also looking at this process or looking at that influencing process from the context of a salesperson's perspective, it is simply valuable because it means that when you get to step 5 and you've got a proposal on the table, then you can mentally prepare yourself to say, it's not over yet. Yeah. Now we need to negotiate final terms and agreements so that we can both be really happy moving into the implementation stage. Yeah.
Great. Really interesting stuff. Thank you, Tim.
And of course, there are what other situations are there? Maybe you want to go to your boss and tell them that you're overworked. Yeah. That could just be a small piece of feedback that you're giving, or it could be positioned from the perspective of a negotiation. You may go to your department lead and say that you want to work from home more often than you do at the moment. You could simply be, moaning, or you could be positioning this from the context of a negotiation. Yeah, you could be looking for more money, more resources, more time. You could be looking for more influence. You could be making a request in a number of different areas. And then you could always be looking at this from the context of, how do I negotiate this? Yeah, we both want certain things. There is common ground for both of us here. How do I make sure I get the best out of this that I can?